Well, thanks again, Boris. So, why don't we start with the man himself, or indeed the Conservative conference. So there was controversy even before it started this weekend, because Boris Johnson revealed or released a leadership manifesto. In an interview with The Sun, he set himself up as a champion of low-paid workers, advocating for a hard Brexit, and he said he wouldn't want the transition period to go on a second longer than 2 years. He also called on the Prime Minister to give low-skilled workers a pay rise as well by raising the minimum wage, which I think and many people know doesn't really work overall in the economy. It does raise people's wages up, but it gives less people higher paying jobs. He also said that people get up early and work very, very hard, so they deserve that pay rise. He also called on the Prime Minister to raise the public sector pay cap, which she's already said she will do, and he's said to raise it more. Many have been calling on her to do that. But this again is stupid timing from Boris Johnson. You remember his article 2 weeks ago was timed stupidly to make the Conservative Party look very divisive. Labour on a moral high right now after their conference. Their confidence has had a big boost. Their votes haven't boosted too much. Their opinion hasn't gone up much in the polls. In fact, I think it's gone down in some places. The Conservatives look again like they're starting to recover, and then he decides to do this. The night before the Conservative conference as well, to throw the government into turmoil again, which is stupid. However, speaking of the government, the Prime Minister finally, thank God, is going to go after the youth vote. She promised to freeze tuition fees. She's also offered a boost for first-time buyers as well, an extension of the right to buy policy. I think up in the Midlands is where she's focusing. Now, is this the right way to go after young voters? I don't think it is. Why? Because if you start to adopt Labour-like policies, as I said before, young people will still go to Labour. Why? Because Labour offer more free and cheap things, and they're more concerned about rhetoric than policy, which is what Conservatives need to do, right? They need to explain to young people what's happening with the deficit, clearing that first, then we're going to clear the debt, and then there'll be more money for them in the future. That needs to be the message. They will have more money. Now, they also need to show them how the free market can result in better choices for them, lower prices, more personal freedom, if the government is more libertarian about letting people say and do what they want. They need to explain to them why Conservative policies help them. And older people are concerned with policy, right? So if you make good policy, they will follow that. But younger people, you have to change the rhetoric and message. You have to make it visionary, and for God's sake, you have to deal with social media to get young Conservatives on board. The Conservatives are horrible at social media. The accounts are full of needless attacks on Labour. They were all the way throughout the campaign. I found it boring. I already know how bad Labour are, or how bad socialism can be. So they need to start making some policy announcements on there. They need to bring back some positive messages instead of being used as a platform to attack other people. They need to show young people what it is. Maybe make an advert with some inspiring music, or someone with a Rolls Royce, or someone with money, or someone to show people what they can achieve in society under Conservative rules or Conservative policy. So the uni fees are a good start with young people, but you do need better rhetoric to win over young voters. So moving on, over the weekend, a lot of people may have seen there was some horrible footage and pictures coming from Spain during the Catalan referendum. This is the quite rich part of Spain who see themselves, many people in Catalonia see themselves as independent people from Spain. So they had to have a referendum, but Spanish police called it unlawful. They tried to stop the referendum. They were attacking voters, shooting them with rubber bullets. They were seizing ballot boxes, and it's horrible to see, but I don't understand why a referendum can't take place. It's the same as referendum for independence we've had in this country with Scotland. However, I thought I would touch on this because a result came out from it. There were some unseized ballot boxes, and 2 million people voted yes. 300,000 voted no, around 300,000, and 100,000 were undecided. So the result was a given, and is a main reason, obviously, why the Spanish government don't want this result to happen because they know they will lose. They know Catalan will become independent and they will lose that rich state. There wasn't a lot of talk about it from the EU. May didn't say much about it. I was very surprised to see that because it's a horrible issue. It's against people's freedom to identify with whatever nationality they want to identify as. It's against their personal freedom as well. They're being attacked, arrested, all kinds of things. And it's horrible to see, but hopefully the issue will be resolved. So finally, Monarch Airlines messed up big time. The pound fell against the dollar. And oil prices rose, which pushed up its cost. Lots of competitors from EasyJet and to other airlines, low-cost airlines came in. They decided to move along from their well-selling long-haul flights into a market. So they met EasyJet and other airlines who were already established in that low-cost, short-flight market where they weren't established. So the company has now collapsed. Hundreds of thousands of Brits are abroad using Monarch. I believe they will be flown home, though. They do have a scheme ensuring that. There will be interesting, though, to see how the government handles this. There are 2,100 staff, lots of assets, lots of shareholders to deal with. Hopefully the government won't get too involved or won't get involved at all. They will leave it to collapse as it is, staff to find work elsewhere, company to pay out its staff. Maybe the government may want to step in with a parachute payment, not to save the company, but to pay off the staff. So I will be back tomorrow while I have more probably on the Conservative conference. I'll have more on Boris and I'll have more on everything else going on in the world. I'm Max and this is the EB Podcast.